Today, we're talking about a topic that I'm getting a ton of questions about, like this one from Sarah.
Hey Mel, this is Sarah, and I have a question.
Are there actually ways to unlock sudden, rapid steps to big change in a short period of time, or is this a dangerous misconception?
Yes, Sarah, there is a way to unlock sudden change, and it's called habits. And that's what we're all going to talk about today. You and I are going to talk about the science of habits. I want to repeat Sarah's question because I want to make sure that we unpack a couple elements in it, and then we're going to jump into the science of habits. So, Sarah's question was this: are there ways to unlock sudden, rapid steps to big change in a short period of time, or is this a dangerous misconception? Now, I said yes. There is a way for you to experience big change in a short period of time if you change how you view yourself. I mean, that's the biggest kind of change that you can experience. When you change your identity, when you change what you believe is possible, that's transformational. Now, one of the things that Sarah said, though, is she asked, is it a dangerous misconception to think that big change happens immediately? And that brings me to the topic of habits. See, change doesn't happen overnight. But when you understand the science of habits, what you realize is that change, little change, it compounds daily. And the massive change that you experience in a short period of time when you focus on habit formation is how you relate to yourself. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that you set a goal, that this is the year that you are going to run your first marathon. You're going to train for it. You're going to finish the race. Now, it will take time. It's going to take you time to achieve that goal. But if you make it a habit to wake up every day and get out the door and go for that training run, within a matter of days, something kind of crazy happens. You experience this massive change because you start to see yourself differently. You start to see yourself as a runner. Now, have you achieved that goal yet? No. That's going to take time. But the power of habits is that as you practice them, they start to change your identity. They become evidence that you're the kind of person that goes for a run. So in the beginning, habits are just something that you and I do. But over time, habits change who you are. So I'm excited for this because if you're somebody who's struggling to change, like maybe you're trying to become a better student, or you want to be better with your money, or more organized, or you'd love a rock solid morning routine, or how about carving out the time to put yourself first? That'd be a great habit. Or this is the year that you're going to become better at sleeping. You're going to make it a habit to go to bed earlier. Or I'm seeing a lot of you writing in with questions about launching a new business. You want to make it a habit to work on it. I see that. That's awesome. You're going to love this episode and everything you're about to learn because habits are the evidence that you see that you're becoming a different person. And that shows up before you achieve the goal that you set. And this is why the science is so powerful. One of the other things I want to remind you is that this episode on the science of habits, it's part of a month-long series that I'm doing where you and I are covering the foundational topics that you need to understand and apply to your life so that you can create a better life. And just a few days ago, I released an episode on goal setting. And if you've listened to it, fantastic. If you haven't listened to it, no problem. It's there. You can listen to it at any time. Listen to it right after you finish this one. In fact, all the episodes this month work together. They stand alone. Listen to them in any order. It's totally cool. And you're going to also see that there's a big connection between setting goals the right way, according to research, and how habits are an integral part of that. Today, what we're going to cover is you're going to learn what a habit is. And even if you think you know what a habit is, I want you to listen. Because research shows that most of us think we know, but we don't actually know what a habit is or how to apply what we know to making a habit stick. The other thing that we're going to cover is the 3 parts of a habit. These 3 parts are required. This is all grounded in decades and decades of research, and you need these 3 parts present in order to encode that habit into your brain as a brand new automatic behavior. And that's where really like the secret sauce comes in. We're also going to talk about how these three parts and understanding them, it's essential not only to forming new habits, but you need to understand these three parts because they help you break the bad or old habits that you're tired of in your life. And here's one more thing I want to say up front. I promise this is going to be really eye-opening and it's going to be somewhat of relief because the science of habits, everybody gets all fancy and researchy and neuroscience and psychology and biology. But the truth is, habits are pretty simple. The research on habits has not changed in years and years and years and years and years, decades really. And the way that I explain the science of habits is so simple that even your puppy could understand it. I'm not kidding. There are only 3 steps to making a habit stick. That's it. And so even if you've listened to a bazillion episodes about habits, even if you've read a ton of books out there, I want you to stick around and stay with me on this. Because according to the 2 women that created all the research that absolutely everybody cites, you may have heard that there are 3 parts to the habit. Well, you can thank Dr. Ann Grabiel at MIT and Dr. Wendy Wood at USC for creating the fact that there are 3 essential parts to every habit. These 2 researchers, they are the founders, the grandmothers of habit research. Every book that you've read is working on their research. Every podcast interview, they're talking about their research. Nothing has changed about habit research in decades. But here's the issue. Those 2 women will tell you, even if you think you know habits, you still struggle with making behavior stick. And so my mission today is to make this so simple that you don't have a problem implementing the research anymore. Because I think there's a reason why none of us implement these 3 essential parts of a habit, even if we know about them. And there are 2 reasons why. Number 1, we get all emotional about what we need to do. We know the 3 things that make up a habit, and yet we have like feelings and opinions and all that stuff about it. That's number 1. And number 2, we human beings overcomplicate everything. We talk about habits. We think we're so fancy and educated. We can fly to the moon. We can drive in electric cars. We can do all these amazing things. And I think we forget that when it comes to habits, it's just these 3 things. It has nothing to do with your feelings. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. In fact, Dr. Wendy Wood says almost nobody understands what habits are. And so you may know the definition. You may know the 3 things that you're about to learn. But when you are put to the test, are you actually able to make changes and get them to stick? No, not really. So Dr. Wendy Wood has determined that almost everybody gets this wrong, which is why we're going to simplify this. So let's just start with the basics. What is a habit? A habit is something that you do so often that it's automatic. That's it. That's all that a habit is. There's no drama. There's no resistance. There's no feelings involved in it. I like to think about it like a habit is something that you do that you don't even think about. And you certainly don't put up a fight about it, right? Here are some examples of habits in your life. Brushing your teeth, looking over your right shoulder when you're backing up in the car, or if you're in the US, that's what you do. For our fans of the podcast over in the UK, you're probably looking over the left shoulder. You don't even think about that, do you? You got to back up, you just turn and look. You get something to eat when you're hungry, that's a habit. You check email first thing in the morning, that's a habit. When you hear your name, don't you turn your head and look in the direction of it? That's a habit. Why are habits awesome? I'll tell you why habits are awesome. Because when a behavior becomes automatic, there's 0 drama in your life. It's just so much easier. Like, I'll give you my husband. The man is Mr. Habit. He just rolls out of bed like nothing's happened. He gets up, he gets dressed, he meditates, he goes to the gym, he walks the dog, he journals. He does it automatically. No drama. There are certainly areas in my life where I would love to be less dramatic, less emotional, less resistant to the things that I want to do. I'd love to just sort of roll through it like my husband does. And so let's not just make this like a conversation. Let's move from listening to doing. If I could take a science-backed magic wand and I could remove all the resistance that you feel in your body, what is one behavior change that you would like to make? One new habit, or, sometimes it's easier to say, what's a bad habit you'd like to break? Do you chew your nails? Do you hit the snooze button 5 times? Said in the positive, what's a new habit you'd like to create? Would you like to exercise every day? Do you want to get your finances in order and be more responsible with money? I'm going to give you a few examples, okay? Would you love to be the kind of person where part of your routine is to get outside and exercise every day? Or how about the kind of person who keeps your room or your desk clean, or you have a 0 inbox? That'd be pretty awesome. Would you like to be the kind of person that gets up 30 minutes earlier than you do right now? Just rolls right out of bed like my husband does? Or how about the kind of person who feels comfortable in social settings? You push yourself out there a little bit more. You, push through that discomfort. You feel a little bit more outgoing. Maybe you want to make it a habit to meditate and feel like you're the kind of person that's more mindful. That's where the science of habits is so important. And so now that you've kind of stopped to think, what's a habit I want to break, or what's a behavior change I want to make, the kind of person I want to become, I have a free worksheet that's a companion to this episode that you can download. You can go to melrobbins.com/habits, and it will serve as a guide to this episode. It's going to help you apply everything that we talk about in this episode. Now, why do habits matter so much? I'll tell you why habits matter. You've learned one reason, and that has to do with identity, right? But the real reason why habits matter is because learning new habits are the only way to go from what your day-to-day life looks like right now to something different. It's the only way. It's the bricks on the pathway to changing your life. That's what habits are. And habits are evidence. Every time that you get out that door and you go for the run, it's evidence that you are becoming a particular type of person. The other reason why habits are so important is because they make your life easier. I mean, I want you to just stop and consider something. Think about how hard it is to be the kind of person who has a habit of hitting the snooze button 4 or 5 times every morning. And then you drag yourself out of bed. That's a habit. And you start your day chronically late. That's a habit. I used to do this. This was the Mel Robbins that you did not know. I was a chronic snooze button hitter. I would drag myself out of bed. By the time I got out of bed, the kids had missed the bus. I started the day behind. It was a nightmare. It was so hard to have that bad habit. And in order to change, I needed to become a different person. I needed to become a person that got up when the alarm rang, that had a morning routine, and that organized my morning so that I would begin the day with a sense of accomplishment. That's what I wanted. Instead of beginning the day like I was behind and I was already failing before I got out of bed. And the gateway to making that change is changing your habits in the morning. When you have habits that support you and your goals and the kind of person you want to become, your life gets easier. And that's why habits truly matter. Sure, you could muscle your way out of bed every morning. You could drag yourself to the gym. You could berate yourself endlessly until you got more motivated and aggressive and vocal at work. But that change is never going to stick. It's never going to become automatic. It's never going to become who you are. Why? Because you're forcing yourself. You're relying on willpower and brute force to push through the bad habits that you have of sleeping in or staying silent or blowing things off or procrastinating. And that's where these 3 steps come in. What I'm going to teach you today doesn't require willpower. You're going to learn how to use science to make new behavior a part of your wiring. This resistance thing, it is so important. And I think we underestimate how much bad habits are in our life and running our lives and how it's making your life harder. So I'm going to give you a simple example of a habit that I currently have so that I can really unpack this resistance thing, okay? So I have a habit of making a cup of coffee every single morning. I love my morning coffee. I do. And and it is so automatic, I don't have to think about it. I know how to work the coffee machine. I know how to work the milk foamer. I know exactly where the coffee pods are. I can literally be doing 15 other things while I make a cup of coffee. That's how automatic of a habit it is. It is easy. I don't even think about it. What if I told you that you could make any change in behavior feel as effortless as making a cup of coffee? Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I don't stand in front of the coffee maker and go, oh, it's raining outside. I don't want any coffee. I don't feel like it today. I'm too tired. I don't want to. No, it's a habit, so I just do it. And I'm saying this because this is what the research says. The research says when you apply the three things that you're about to learn to every behavior change, whether it's breaking an old habit or learning a new one, you will make your life easier. Another thing that's important for you to hear is that successful people, based on the research from UPenn, they're not smarter than you. They don't have more willpower than you. You know what they have? They have what Chris has, my husband. They just put in the work to create better habits that make them feel successful and make their life easier. And the more you apply what you're about to learn, the more behavior change you can stack along the way. You can create a chain of behavior change. It's so cool. Just like Chris rolls out of bed and walks into the bathroom and brushes his teeth and doesn't even think about it, and then gets on his exercise clothes, then goes and meditates. Like, that's a chain of behavior. That's a chain of habits. He doesn't even think about it. Because every new habit that you want to create, it's the exact same three-step process. I am telling you, do not overcomplicate this. Do not think you're fancy. Whether you want to break a bad habit or you want to encode new ones, let's not overcomplicate this. And I know what you're thinking, Mel, if this is so simple, why is it so hard to get to the gym? Why can I not stop emotional eating? Why am I chewing my nails? Why is it easy to talk about it but hard to make it stick? Just accept at face value what you're about to learn. You and I learn new behavior the exact same way a new puppy does. And I'm going to prove it to you. Not everything in life needs to be so hard or so complicated. So let's all just take a deep breath, because we're about to make habits easy. And this is why, by the way, the research shows that nobody understands how to apply the research, because we read, oh, it's just these three steps. And we're like, no, it can't be. We want to think that we're special, but no, we're not. You are like a puppy. And this is why it's so hard to accept the truth. And you want to know something crazy? So right before I came up here to talk to you about habits, honest to goodness, you know what I was doing? I was standing in my kitchen with my family of 5. And we were in the middle of a dog training session. I'm not making this up. We have a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd named Yolo and a 5-month-old puppy named Homie. And Homie needs new habits. Homie is not going to go from being a puppy to a beautifully trained dog without us training him. You are the same way as Homie. Right now, there are areas of your life where you're doing whatever the hell you want to do, just like my puppy is. And you and I are going to go back to obedience school, back to the basics. That's what habits are about. And as I was sitting there watching this training session with our 2 dogs, I'm thinking, holy smokes, it really is this simple. Today's topic is something that on its face, it seems really obvious, but I didn't really get serious about this topic until, my God, a few years ago, really. And the topic that I'm talking about is your morning routine. And I love this topic because it is an example of how you can apply what we've already been talking about in the first 30 some episodes of the Mel Robbins podcast. Whether you've listened to the Mindset Reset or the conversations we've had with experts about anxiety or healing, or maybe you've dug into the very popular episodes that we've done about habits and motivation. Even when I talk about topics like manifesting, you're starting to get that Mel is one of these people that is very, very intentional about what she does, about what she says. And the reason why I'm that way is because you're not going to change your life by accident. You're not going to become happier by accident. You're not going to become healthier by accident. You're not going to make the money that you deserve by accident. When you make a decision that you deserve more, that you're going to do the work to create a better life, that singular decision will change your life. And what we're going to do today, and I'm so freaking excited about this, is we're going to basically put everything that we've been talking about for several months here on the Mel Robbins podcast into action. And we're going to do that by talking about why a morning routine is so important for your success. And I'm going to start this conversation today by talking about the single biggest hack that has helped me create a rock solid morning routine. In fact, I call my morning routine the $1,000,000 morning because it makes me feel like $1,000,000 when I follow my morning routine. And the structure of a great morning routine is what helps me make millions of dollars. And so, what is the hack that has helped me create such a powerful morning routine? Particularly when your friend Mel Robbins is not exactly a morning person. Well, that single biggest hack about my powerful morning routine is putting myself to bed. Yep, I have an evening routine where I wind down the day and I do a couple simple things to set myself up for success tomorrow. And then, yes, you heard it right here, Mel Robbins tucks herself into bed. And here is the hack. Your morning routine begins the night before. I'm going to say that again. If you want to master a rock solid morning routine, and trust me, you do, your morning routine begins the night before. And this is one of those topics that it's so obvious when you unpack it. Because right now, think about how many mornings you wake up and you bemoan the choices you made last night. How many times have you woken up and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have had so much to drink? Or a friend texts you and there you are at the yoga class you were supposed to meet at. They're like, I'm really sorry. I stayed up really late and, and I overslept and we've all been there. Or what about when you wake up and you literally had fast food at 1 o'clock in the morning on the way home from some event and now you've got a burrito bomb in your stomach and you're like, I can't do that to myself again. And then what do? You do it to yourself again. What if instead of bemoaning the choices that you made last night, what if you got serious about making sure that the future you, the one that's waking up tomorrow morning, is actually waking up feeling really good? Yeah, you're right. It sucks to wake up and be anxious every morning because you drank almost every night. And the number one symptom of a hangover is freaking anxiety because the chemicals in your body are getting processed. And when the chemicals get processed and you have a dump of cortisol and the dopamine drops and you got the poison of alcohol, of course you have anxiety. Don't sit there and feel anxious. Do something about it. Get serious about the choices you are making the night before and how that impacts you in the morning. And yeah, that includes what you eat, what you drink, but it also includes some other things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 5 simple things. These are game changers. These are not rocket science. You don't need a PhD to understand this, but let me tell you something. When you put this into practice, you will experience a level of holy shit transformation that is hard to put into words because the decisions that you make at night determine who you are when you wake up in the morning. And you have a choice every evening to either set the future you up for success, for ease, for structure, for confidence, for winning, or you can make decisions in the evening that set you up to feel like shit, to be behind, to have a ton of stuff to do that you could have done last night. Your decisions determine everything. And so I really want to rattle the cage today and get you to think differently about the night. I know that your days are stressful. Mine are too. That's why so many of us engage in what's called revenge procrastination at night, which is basically this concept where you feel resentful of the fact that work took up your entire day, and now you're going to get revenge by mindlessly scrolling at night, or plowing through a bottle of wine, or doing nothing to set yourself up because you're tired or you're mad and you deserve to relax. I agree, you do deserve to relax. But if you were to just do these 5 things that I'm going to recommend, you would have time to relax, but you would also set the you that's going to wake up tomorrow morning up for a clean slate day where you wake up, you feel great, you're set up for success, and that is going to be a positive domino that literally triggers a ton of positive stuff to happen every day. That's what we're talking about. Because the choices you make at night determine whether or not the next day is going to be easy and empowering, or whether or not you are going to wake up to a morning like the old Mel Robbins used to wake up to. And whether you're aware of it or not, I just want you to stop and consider something. Right now in your life, you already have an evening routine in place. You already have a morning routine. And today, because the big hack is understanding that a great morning routine starts the night before, you and I are going to focus on your current evening routine. And I, as your friend, am going to challenge you to change it. So let's do a quick experiment. Okay? I want you just to stop, think about the night in front of you, and be honest. What does the average evening in your current life look like? I'll go first because back when I was really struggling, the old Mel, I now realize how much my evening routine was contributing to the fact that I was struggling so much. So here's what the old Mel's evening routine looked like many years ago. I would either come home from work or I would roll downstairs from working on my laptop all day and I'd crack open a bottle of wine. I'd cook dinner by trying to throw something together that was in the fridge because I hadn't really planned anything. I'd throw a load of laundry in here and there. And then you know what I'd do? I'd basically slump down on the couch and I'd start scrolling through social media. After dinner and helping the kids with the homework, you might find the old Mel Robbins just sort of laying there on the couch with the bottle half drained, glass of wine in hand. I got a movie or some series on the television. I got my phone in my hand. I'm zoning out. I'm scrolling along. During the commercials, the old Mel Robbins, I'd probably turn to Chris, complain about my day. Then I'd look over at the kitchen and I'd see that the counters were full of crap from the dinner that we had cooked or from the backpacks that we had emptied or the laptops that we had put there. The kids' homework was typically sprawled out among the island. And I would say to myself this was the routine of the old Mel Robbins. I should probably clean that up over the next commercial break. And I'd say that over and over again. I should probably pack their lunches. I should probably turn off the TV and read a book. I should probably move the laundry from the washer to the dryer so it doesn't sit there for 5 days and then get that disgusting, damp old towel smell to it, and then I have to rewash it again. I know you do that too. And all of a sudden, it would be almost 11 o'clock before I knew it. I would have polished off that bottle of wine. I'd get up and I'd clear off the counters and put most of the dishes into the sink, a few of them into the dishwasher. I'd do my favorite cleaning trick, which is instead of scrubbing and cleaning the pans that I had cooked dinner in, I'd just fill them up with warm soapy water and let them soak. Because I'd tell myself it's going to be easier to clean them in the morning if they soak all night. Now, by this point, I'm exhausted. I'm buzzed on the wine. I'm tired from a long day. I kind of resent the fact that I have more to do and it's now 11:15, and I'd start to tell myself, "Well, I'll just pack the kids' lunches tomorrow." And then I would turn off the lights, I'd let the dog out one more time, I'd lock the doors, and I would collapse into bed with my phone. Now, it would take the old Mel Robbins a little time to fall asleep. Why? Because while I was laying there with Chris sound asleep next to me, I would scroll through my phone, I would check out social media, I'd read the news, and eventually I would zone out. And as I was lying there, I'd feel kind of annoyed that Chris had gone to bed earlier. He had already drifted off to sleep. And at some point, I'd realize, oh my God, it's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning. How did it get so late? For all my fellow procrastinators out there, you know, those of us who pulled all-nighters in college, who thought tomorrow is a great day to pack the bags, to start my workout routine, to clean up the kitchen, to set myself up for success. Tomorrow is the day when the new me will emerge from my beauty sleep tonight. I will shake off that hangover from the bottle of wine that I've had. I'll pop a couple Advil and I will make a fresh start. Tomorrow is the fresh start. That was the old Mel Robbins. I used to have all kinds of stories about myself for why it is that, I just couldn't get my act together. Oh, it's just so hard for me to wind down after a long workday. I have trouble falling asleep. I need a glass of wine or two or three or four in order to relax and to fall asleep. And, I'm just not a morning person. That's why I can't get up earlier. I don't know why I wake up and I feel anxious and slightly hungover, but, I'm just not the kind of person that ever just springs out of bed. And I got so much work that I just want to relax at night. What's the big deal? And the problem with this is that my nights did not set me up to have a relaxing morning. Let me tell you what the old Mel Robbins life was like. Thank God Chris is not on this episode because he would really describe it in a way that makes me feel like a loser. I would set several alarms on my phone. The first one to go off at 5:45, but that's not actually when I'm getting up. That's just alarm number 1. And then I'd set another alarm for about, 6 o'clock. And then I'd set another one for 6:15, and then another one for 6:30, and then another one for 6:45, which was kind of the time that I felt like I needed to get out of bed because that's only 45 minutes to get 3 kids out the door and lunch is packed and everything cleaned up. But I'd usually honestly roll out of bed at the last alarm, which was like the emergency alarm, which was 7:15. Sound familiar? Don't tell me you don't do this. You do this. And I want you to just consider, what does that act of setting multiple alarms say to your subconscious? Think about what those actions communicate to you. I'll tell you what they communicated about the old Mel Robbins. Waking up is hard. Getting up is hard. Mornings are hard. Life is an obligation. Being in bed is better than being awake. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to start my day. There is nothing I'm looking forward to today. I have nothing to get out of bed for that actually makes me happy, which is why this is going to be a slow death march for me of alarms that are summoning me to roll out of this warm bed and actually start this day. I wasn't a morning person because the old Mel Robbins chose not to be one. The old Mel Robbins literally did absolutely nothing the night before to set herself up for success. If you think about all the choices that I was making, because deciding to just zone out in front of TV, that's a choice. Leaving the dishes for tomorrow morning, that's a choice. Not packing lunches to set yourself up for success, that's a choice. That is part of your routine. And if you don't watch it, you're going to become like the old Mel Robbins. You're going to be making your life harder for yourself without even realizing it. And one of the main reasons why I kept doing it is because I kept telling myself, I'm so tired. I don't want to have to do anything. I've worked all day. And by doing that, I was just making it harder. Now, thankfully, I finally had this turning point when I realized I don't want my mornings to be a 5 alarm fire drill because there is nothing fun about waking up late and feeling frustrated and then being stressed at your kids and then yelling at them to move faster because you yourself didn't get up on time and then scrambling to pack the lunches and the drama that comes with that and then trying to get them to eat when you haven't even prepared anything and then finding that permission slip that they needed that you signed last night but you didn't put it in a place that you could find it simply because you were not thinking about the fact that you deserve to wake up in a powerful way. You deserve to complete your day in a way that supports you. I didn't have to race out the door. I didn't have to start my day mad at my husband, frustrated by the frenzy, going from literally sleeping to a panic attack every single morning and then hopping in the car to commute to work to see that, oh my God, I have zero gas in the tank because I was too tired when I drove home last night to stop and I just wanted to get home. So I didn't fill up the tank and now I'm running late and now I'm on the highway and I'm pulling on at the exact time that traffic literally doubles. Why do I keep doing this to myself? And here's something interesting. Doesn't it make sense that if I start my day like that, I'm probably making myself more stressed and tired all day long? That crazy morning is like a domino that falls. And it triggers more stress and more being behind and more draining energy so that you're constantly feeling like you're always reacting because you are, because you set it up that way. I know this because I lived it for years. And I just kept saying all the disempowering thing. Why can't I be like it? Why don't I have discipline? Why don't I do this? And I didn't understand how to break this down in a way that not only makes sense, but it's supported by the research. And I think I was rolling home completely spent, not because work was long, not because the day was stressful, but because my entire experience of waking up and starting the day had started that way. That I was looking forward to that bottle of wine the second the kids got on the bus because I had spent the 45 minutes I was awake running around like the Tasmanian devil. And I'm here to tell you there is an easier way. And that brings me back to this hack. You can make this easier. You can be a different person. Your morning routine is everything when it comes to success and happiness and putting yourself first and finding the time that you deserve to focus on what matters to you. And that incredible morning routine has to begin the night before. That's the hack. And that's what changed everything for me. I am not the old Mel Robbins. In fact, just describing what my life used to be like is giving me a stomach ache when I think about how much unnecessary stress and drama I created for myself, for my kids, for my husband. It wasn't fun for anybody. And so I'm not like that anymore. I am a completely different person because I decided I wanted to be a completely different person. And you don't have to be a Navy SEAL. You don't have to be a competitive athlete. You don't have to run $1 billion company to understand that setting yourself up the night before is the secret to waking up and having a great morning. And when you have a great morning, it's easier to have a great day. That's how this builds. And so that's what we're going to talk about. How do you end the day? How do you wind things down and put yourself to bed? I want you to stop and think about something. You already have a routine about how you shut down your house or your apartment. Think about it. Do you ever go to bed and not lock the door? No. Do you go to bed and turn the lights off? Of course you turn the lights off. Do you like make sure your pets are where they need to be? Of course you do. Do you shut the refrigerator? Yes, you do. Do you turn off the TV? Of course you do. All of these things that you do to turn off and shut down the house at night. You have a routine about what you physically do in your space or your home. You lock the front door, you turn off the lights, maybe you put your dog in a crate, you brush your teeth, you kiss the kids goodnight, you read them a book, you turn off the television, you put on your PJs. There is this shutting down that you do that is routine. You don't even think about it. And I think about it, it's almost like we're putting the house to bed. It's easy to think about the list of things that you do without even being conscious of it when it comes to your physical environment. What I want to talk to you about today is what are the things that you and I can do to help you do that emotionally and psychologically? And I want to give you one more example for why a routine is so empowering when you get very intentional about it. Have you ever gone to bed? Maybe you're feeling sick or you've been up too late or whatever, or your kids come in later and you wake up in the morning and all the lights are on downstairs? It's so disorienting because you're like, wait a minute, why are the lights on? I always turn the lights off. It's so weird when that happens. It feels like something's wrong. What if I told you you can get to the point where your evening routine and the series of the 5 things that I want you to do becomes so automatic, so easy that when you don't do these things, it's disorienting. That's how important this is. So, in just a minute, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things that the current Mel Robbins does every single night. This is my evening routine, and the philosophy behind it is all about making my mornings easier. It's all about setting myself up for success and creating a rhythm and a routine and a structure to my evenings that gives me a sense of confidence, that helps me set the Mel Robbins that's waking up tomorrow morning up for success and ease, and that also makes me an amazing sleeper because this routine and the structure of it signals to my subconscious brain that we're winding down here. Just like we lock the front door and it's time to go to bed, we're turning out the lights, it's time to go to bed. You are going to do a series of things that signal to your brain and to your mind that it is time to turn it off and to tuck yourself in. Like, I think a lot about how when I was growing up, I had a very, very strict bedtime routine. My parents were not dummies. They did not want me up late. There was no negotiation. After dinner, we had to go right upstairs and we got into a hot bath. Why? Well, because we were dirty, but also because it makes you kind of drowsy, right? It's sort of like you just do it every night. It's signaling to you, the kid, that, okay, we're in our evening routine now. We're getting into the bedtime routine. And then I'd pull on my little footed PJs and I'd zip them up and we get a little bit of time downstairs to either play or watch one TV show. And then what would we do? We'd be right back upstairs. We'd be getting a bedtime story read to us. And then our parents would tuck us in, kiss us on the forehead or the cheek, and we were going to bed. That bedtime routine became this rhythm that created safety and structure and ease, something you can depend upon. And so I want you to join me in getting serious about your evening routine starting tonight. I want you to embrace the fact that your mornings will be 100 times better if you set yourself up for success starting tonight. The most important relationship that you have in life, and that's the relationship you have with yourself. I am going to introduce you to a habit that I want you to practice immediately. It is a habit that is based on profound research, and it is a habit that will help you improve the relationship you have with yourself. It will impact your happiness, your sense of control, your confidence. This is the Mac Daddy of all habits. You master this habit, you improve the relationship you have with yourself, and this is like the first domino. You know how in dominoes, when you line them up, there's that one domino that, boom, you knock that sucker over and woohoo, I can't even, all the other dominoes fall. So we are talking about the gateway to creating a positive ripple effect in your life and improving the relationship with yourself. And also, it is the secret, this habit, to self-acceptance and self-love. We know we should love ourselves. We should be kind to ourselves. We should accept ourselves. But nobody knows how to do it. And that's what this entire episode is about. I am going to boil the how down to one extraordinarily simple habit backed by a crazy amount of research that we will link to, and my own research study involving 175,000 people from 91 countries who tried this habit for 5 days in a row. So that means we've got data points that stack up to 175,000 times 5. I don't even know what that number is, but it's pretty big. This works. It's high-fiving yourself every morning in the mirror as part of your morning routine. That's it. And I've got the research to prove it. I've got studies to prove it. And what we have found based on our research is that it takes less than 5 days for you to have an absolutely profound breakthrough in your relationship to yourself by simply adding a high five in the mirror once a morning to your morning routine after you brush your teeth. And at the end of this episode, I want you to stick around because you are going to hear one of the most profound testimonials ever about the impact that one high five made on a woman's life named Chris. Like, you're going to need to bring the Kleenex because this is so goosebump, empowering, and encouraging and exciting. I'm not kidding. This is profound, profound, profound. And I know that you struggle with self-love because none of us know how to do it. I get questions on this every single freaking day. How do I love myself? I know I need to love myself, Mel, like this one from Maria.
Hi, Mel. This is Maria from Spain. Can you explain how to learn to love yourself? I know I need to love myself as a part of my self-growth, but no one tells you how to do that. I'm curious, is there something I can do about that?
I love this question because she's right. We all know we need to love ourselves, but how the hell do you do that when nobody has taught you how? I think the main reason why this concept of self-love is so hard to implement in our lives is because of the definition of love. If you look in the dictionary, love is defined as a feeling, but that's not what it is. Love is an action. And let's just take an example from your life. When you feel loved by somebody else, it's because of how they treat you. It's because of what they say to you. Like, for example, when Chris brings me a cup of coffee in the morning, I feel loved because of that action. When he says, I love you, Mel, I feel loved because of the action of speaking those words. But when it comes to loving ourselves, we're sitting around waiting for the feeling, and yet we're not recognizing the truth about love. You feel loved by other people when they demonstrate it through actions. The secret to self-love is demonstrating to yourself through your own actions toward yourself that you love yourself. And that's why the simple solution to having a breakthrough in loving yourself, the first domino that needs to fall, is something that I call the high five habit. This is a simple habit that I created that boiled down is simply adding a high five in the mirror to yourself, to your morning routine. That's what the high five habit is. Now, one of the reasons why I love this habit is because it has so much research. And the habit's very simple. When you wake up tomorrow morning, get yourself out of bed, go into the bathroom, brush your teeth, and then after you brush your teeth, you're going to put your toothbrush down. And the reason why I want you to do it after you brush your teeth is because I want to use some science called habit stacking. I want this to be part of your morning routine, what you're about to do. And so I want you to do it right after something that you do every morning, brushing your teeth. That way your brain will encode this high five habit even faster. And here comes the most important part. As you put the toothbrush down, you are going to look in the mirror. This is the hardest part of the high five habit. You're going to look in the mirror, and I don't want you to look through the person in the mirror. I want you to realize there's a human being that's standing in the mirror there with you every morning in the bathroom, and you have either ignored them or you have looked at all of the things you don't like about that person, whether it's the weight that you've put on or it's the bags under your eyes, or for me, it's one boob hanging lower than the other boob. You sit there and judge that person, or based on our research and studies, 50% of men and women cannot or will not look at themselves in the mirror. And the reason is so freaking sad. It's because they don't like the person they've become, or they have so many regrets in life about things that they did or the place that they thought that they would be that they can't and won't look at themselves in the mirror. And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, let's just stop at that right there, because what do you do with somebody you love? What's the action when you see somebody you love? You look them in the eyes. That gaze, eye to eye, gives you not only dopamine, but the oxytocin that is in your brain. It is powerful. It's an act of love to really make eye contact and hold a gaze with love and compassion behind it. So if you can't do that and you're not doing that, you're every morning demonstrating not love, you're demonstrating rejection and criticism. And so, first step of the high five habit, you are going to put your toothbrush down and you're going to look at yourself in the eye. And it's going to feel weird if you don't normally do this. And the next part of this is very simple. Whenever you feel ready, you're going to raise your hand and you're going to high five the person you see in the mirror. Now, one of two things will happen when you do this. And again, I have so much data on this, I know, because we've studied what happens. What's going to happen when you go to high five the mirror is you will either laugh out loud, and you'll laugh out loud because it's kind of dorky and funny. That's what I did the first time I high fived myself in the mirror. But you're also laughing because your brain recognizes a high five. And so one of the coolest things about high fiving yourself in the mirror is the science involved. It's called neurobics. You're using research in a field called neurobics, which is when you marry a physical action with a new positive thought you want to create. They've studied this at MIT. They've studied it all over the world. It is the fastest way to create new neural pathways and new thought patterns, to marry physical action like a high five with a new thought. And here's where the high five in the mirror gets really cool. So you're leveraging neurobics, all of this sort of physical activity plus neuroscience. You're also getting the benefit of the release of dopamine. You're also getting the benefit of the fact that your brain and your body knows what a high five is because you've been high-fiving people your whole life, right? You've seen high fives in sports on television. You know exactly what a high five is. A high five is something that you give somebody, a physical action, when you're cheering for them, when you're encouraging them. A high five is something that you give to somebody when you're proud of them. Great shot. Good job on that test. And a high five is also something that you give to another human being whenever they need encouragement. So think about like standing on the side of a road race. You don't cross your arms and scowl at people. You high five people and cheer for them because you're trying to say, I see you. I see that this race is hard. Keep going. You got this. If you're on a sports team and you blow a play when you come to the huddle, a high five from a coach or a teammate says, shake it off. I believe in you. Now get back in the game. And so what's so cool about this high five habit to yourself in the mirror is that a lifetime of positive programming, neurologically already in your brain, gets aimed right back at your reflection. And so you are physically demonstrating with this simple habit in less than 5 seconds every single morning that you, yes, you take actions that show that you believe in, you love, and you encourage the person in the mirror. Now, another reason why I love this habit is you don't have to think anything. All of the wiring that is already in your brain and in your nervous system, it does the work for you silently. As I mentioned, there is so much research, and we're going to just put dozens and dozens and dozens of studies. But I want to also point out that there are 2 studies that are really important. One of them was done with the NBA, and I'm just going to cut to the chase on this study. They wanted to know if there were any habits that winning teams had that the losing teams in the NBA didn't have in the preseason. And it turned out, after crunching all the data, and this has been verified by the Wall Street Journal too, beyond the study that these scientists did, that the top 4 teams in the NBA, in fact, do have a habit in the preseason that the losing teams do not. You want to know what that habit is? You guessed it. They have more high fives, fist bumps, pats on the back in the preseason among team members than any of the other teams. Why? Well, because a high five isn't just an action and a physical gesture that means nothing. A high five actually says, I am with you. It builds trust, it builds partnership, it builds belief, and you can build that back in yourself by adding the high five in the mirror every single morning as part of your morning routine. There was another study done with kids where they made a bunch of kids take these math tests, and these researchers wanted to know what's the best way to encourage someone through a challenging moment. And they found that it wasn't words of encouragement like, hey, you're a great student. It wasn't the growth mindset words like, hey, really admire how hard you're working. You want to know the single best way to motivate kids to do something challenging? It's to say nothing and to give them a high five. This was so profound that the researchers, and we'll link to this study, changed the name of the study to include the surprising power of a high five, the surprising motivational power of a high five. That's how exciting this is. And I think you can hear this because I stumbled onto this by mistake. I started high-fiving myself right after I had gotten fired, basically, from hosting my own talk show. And I needed to give myself like a pick-me-up. And I just instinctually one morning raised my hand and high-fived the mirror. And the immediate effect that I felt of the dopamine in my mind and the boost in my mood and this sense of, okay, I got it. I can do this. I can face this. Having my own back, demonstrating it to myself during a really low moment, it was the beginning, that first domino that fell, of an entirely new relationship with myself. It's what led me to get into intensive therapy and to start getting serious about my happiness. And I think everything comes back to you and the relationship that you have with yourself. And so we're going to go deep on this because the relationship that you have with yourself is the single most important thing in the world. And in addition to sharing this research and this simple habit with you, I want to unpack some of the things that people experience when they do it, because I've had so many questions about this, like this one from Teresa.
How do I stop beating myself up and forgive myself for my past mistakes?
I can't believe how many years you waste beating yourself up for past mistakes. And the reason why we do that is we don't know how to forgive ourselves because we don't know how to accept ourselves. We don't know how to accept the failures, the regrets, the disappointments. We don't know how to accept, we don't know how to love ourselves through it. And that's where, honest to God, this simple habit of demonstrating it every morning in the mirror as part of your morning routine changes everything. And we got to take a short break for our sponsors, but don't you dare go anywhere because I have so much to share with you. And I'm going to invite my husband, Chris, to come and join us. Because when I first shared this high five habit thing that I had discovered a couple years ago with him, when I first stumbled into doing it for myself, he thought it was the stupidest thing he had ever heard. And of course, because I'm relentless and annoying, I was like, but you got to do it for 5 days. You got to try it. You got to try. And what happened when he tried it for 5 days was both life-changing, profound, and it was heartbreaking for me to hear as a spouse just how much my husband was struggling and how the simple assignment of looking yourself in the eyes was impossible for him to do at that time. I got these new habits. Please, Mel, give me the 5 hacks. How the hell do I make these new habits stick? How do I create structure, discipline, and order in my life? Well, it's very simple. You're going to use simple hacks. That's all you're going to do. You can call them systems. You can call them triggers. You can call them cues. You can call them structure. You can call them whatever you want to be. My friend Amy, who you have heard on this podcast, has this term that I laugh about so much because it makes me think of belly buttons. But she basically says there are 2 kinds of people in this world. There are people that are innie organizers, meaning you manage everything in your head, right? You're thinking about it all the time. That's not how you're going to be successful when it comes to change. I was an innie organizer, and I have an innie belly button, in case you're wondering. I know that's a little bit too much information. I don't know why, but it is kind of intimate to share whether you have an innie or an outie belly button. But I have an innie. I blame it. You can blame that on the doctor who tied your umbilical cord. Yep. I often tell myself that if only the doctor who tied my umbilical cord, who happened to be my father, who was a medical resident at the time, I blame my father for the fact that it doesn't matter how much I exercise. I have a hamburger bun belly button. Like it's like a flat line. And I say to myself, if he had only tied the knot tighter, I would have one of those amazing round, like belly buttons that are like the size of a nickel that some people have. I've always wanted one of those. No, I'm not getting surgery, but so I have an innie flat hamburger bun belly button. That's not what I was supposed to be talking to you about. An innie organizer is somebody who tries to stay organized in their head. You have to be an outie organizer. That's what you have to be when it comes to habits. Why? Well, remember, in the episode we just released on the science of habits, there are only 3 parts to a habit based on all of the research in habits. Science has never changed. The cue, the behavior pattern, and the trigger. That's it. You have to figure out systems to have the cue or the trigger outside of you. And when you start to figure out how to get the cue, the thing that signals the new behavior outside of you, get it out of your any head and get it out into the world. When you start to do that, that's the secret to making behavior stick. And what you're going to learn is going to blow your mind, because I know that when you're trying to change your head, you're keeping it all in your head and you're not using systems outside of you, you are frustrated like Ann is.
Hi, Mel. I'm Ann, and here's my question. Why is it so hard to break through some daily habits and do things differently? Why can't I stay consistent in my daily tasks?
I'll tell you why you're frustrated. The same reason why any organizer is frustrated, because you are trying to stay consistent in your head and you are not using simple systems and simple physical cues to keep you organized and to keep these changes top of mind. That's it. And you are managing so much. And you listening to me, you don't give yourself enough credit for how much you're juggling in your own mind. Stop keeping behavior change in your own mind and let's get it out of your head, because I want you to know something. You're not the problem. You have everything within you. You're not the problem. You are capable of learning new habits. You are capable of making amazing things happen. You're not the problem. The problem is that you're attacking this as an any organizer. You are planning to do this all in your head. And all you need is outie systems that keep these new changes front and center in front of you. That's how you stay consistent. Stop relying on willpower. Stop relying on having to remember what you need to do. Absolutely not. There is no way you are going to achieve your goals or stay consistent or make all those amazing changes that you want to make, that you deserve to have happen, unless you start to implement systems in your life. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take a short break. We're going to hear a short word from our sponsors. And then I'm going to come right back and I'm going to teach you right now the 5 simple systems that I am using right now. I have researched these because I'll be damned if I do not complete the 75 hard challenge, especially since I'm doing it with my husband, who's doing it now for the 3rd time, and he's leading a group of people from around the world through it. My daughter's also in, her boyfriend is in, so is my brother. There is no fucking way I am letting myself fail. And I will fail, like I did last time, if I rely on my own mind. So I am getting out of my head, and I am getting into my systems, and so are you. And I'm going to explain them in just a second. Welcome back. So we are talking about the 5 simple systems that are going to help you make new behavior change stick, okay? So system number 1, and this is the Mac Daddy of outie organizing. Ready? Make it visible. And by make it visible, I mean put it in front of your freaking face, okay? Because here's the cool thing. Instead of rearranging your mind and your mental to-do list, rearrange your house and your environment to support you in remembering your goals and achieving your habits, okay? That's how you make this stick. You make it visible. You make it obvious. So let me give you a list of some of the things that I have done. So first, I have the list of all of the things that I need to accomplish in this challenge taped to my mirror above my bathroom sink. Why is it there? Well, because I want to make it visible and obvious. It's the first thing that I see in the morning, and it's the last thing that I see at night. Here's another example of a way to make the habit or the goal visible. My water bottle and the nonfiction book that I'm reading, I put that by the coffee maker every single night. It is sitting there in the morning. Why? Because I can't miss it. I mean, it's obvious. I walk in, I go to make my coffee, boom, there it is. It's like, hey, bitch, don't forget to drink the water. Hey, read that book. Don't pick up the phone. Like, do you see how much easier I made that on myself? Instead of having to go in my head and be like, doing mental gymnastics with my, don't pick up the phone. You remember, you got to read the book. I don't want to read the book. But it's like sitting right there out of me. I can't ignore it. Here's another way to make things visible, to support yourself. We have this little beverage fridge, right? And normally it's got a ton of beer and wine in it. You know what's in it right now? Not beer and wine. It's now stocked with kombucha, non-alcoholic beer, and awesome non-alcoholic spirits, and all kinds of spindrits and seltzers and Topo Chicos and all the kind of non-alcoholic stuff that I love to drink. Why? Because then when I feel a little craving and I go to open up the little beverage fridge because I'm going to sneak, because I'm sneaky and I'm a rebel and I only made it a week through the challenge last time, so God knows I'm going to want to sneak it sometime. What do I have? The stuff that I don't want to drink. But the thing that I need to drink is right there. It's visible. Here's another way that I make the habit visible. Every night before I go to bed, I lay out my exercise clothes on the floor. It is a giant middle finger to myself because you want to know what? When I wake up in the morning, do I want to work out? Do I want to have to work out outside? Hell no. It's 37 degrees and raining in Vermont right now. Who in their right mind wants to go outside? But when I wake up, it's visible. It's outside of my head. It's in my face. It is reminding me, oh, there's that promise that you regret that you made, Mel. And then I have to remind me of my why as I'm pulling on my tights. The question is, why does this work? Well, let's turn to research from Harvard Business School. Because this research from Harvard Business School shows that when we make decisions for our future selves, we make better decisions. So let me unpack this for you, okay? When you wake up in the morning and you got all your habits and goals in your head, it's the old you. And you got a decision to make in the morning, right? Do I feel like exercising? Do I even remember I need to exercise? It's sleeting, horizontal, disgusting 37-degree rain outside. Do I feel like exercising? If you are in your head making a decision in real time, you are likely going to make a bad decision, right? I don't want to exercise, so I'm not going to. I'll do it later. But when you make decisions for your future self, and that's what you're doing when you literally take the time to put a Post-it note on a mirror. That's what you're doing when you take the time to pull all of the booze out of the fridge and stock it instead with better choices. That's what I'm doing when I put the clothes on the floor. I am making a decision as my future self. I am saying, I know Mel Robbins well enough to know at some point this woman is going to have no willpower. She is going to be weak. She is going to be desperate. She is going to be emotional. And so I need to make a decision for the future Mel Robbins, the Mel Robbins that wants to change. And when you think from that point of view and you set yourself up for success by making these things visible, you freaking win. Because according to Harvard Business School, you make better decisions when you think about who is the future you and what would that person do. So the night before, plan out as many decisions as you can. Because the other thing that you can do, and that means put the water bottle by the coffee maker, set the journal out where you're going to see it, lay out the clothes, put the phone in a different room so that it's not there to look at first thing in the morning. These are things that you can do as the future you. What would the person who already lives this lifestyle be doing? Act like that version of you. And when you set yourself up and make all this stuff visual, here's the other cool thing that happens. You reduce what's called decision fatigue the very next day. And you're taking advantage of this planning for your future self. And you know what? There's a third benefit. I love this. It lowers activation energy. So we talked about this in the episode called Motivation is Garbage. Activation energy is just a fancy term that means how much fuel or energy does it take you to get started on something? Activation energy is the force that you need to apply to doing something. So I'll go back to the example. It is so much easier for me to get going when my exercise tights are on the floor next to my bed. Duh. It is so much easier for me to get my water consumption done, to drink that like big first thing of water if it's sitting out waiting for me. Duh. Because it takes a lot more energy, right? A lot more force, a lot more fuel for me to not only haul my ass out of bed, but to remember I need to put on exercise tights and to pull open the drawer and to figure out which pair to wear and then to pull them on and then to look at the jog bras and then to decide if I need a sweatshirt or I need a this or I've had to like burn through fuel just to figure out what freaking outfit to put on. By making decisions for my future self and making it visible, boom shakalaka, people, this is easy. I am setting myself up for success. Here's another powerful way to make things visible. Use the alarm on your phone. Seriously, this is a genius hack. Put the alarm on your phone to use to help you be your future self. It's like a reminder from the future, okay? Cake's done. Get up, go check on it. No, seriously. So every single smartphone has the ability to set an alarm. And on the alarm, when you go to set the time, there's a label. Right now it says alarm. You can literally change the label to help you remember anything. And here's what's super cool about a simple alarm on your phone. Research has found that twice as many people who received quit smoking messages quit smoking over a 6-month period. So these little systems like setting an alarm on your phone, whether you're reminding yourself to take the vitamins that you want to be taking, or you're reminding yourself to get outside for the run, or you're reminding yourself to spend 30 minutes working on a project that you wanted to get done, they're going to make you, based on the research, twice as successful, twice more likely. This simple stuff works. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard, right? Not that hard to put a Post-it note on the mirror. Not that hard to set an alarm in your phone. Not that hard to set the water bottle out, but you got to do it, okay? Simple systems work because your life is complicated enough. And if you can put that Post-it note up, you are setting yourself up for success. I'm telling you, it's true. And that leads me to system number 2. And this is the one that Mel Robbins has to use even more than like stick it in your face. And this is the opposite. Get it the fuck out of here, okay? Remove the temptation from your sight. Get it out of here. Out of sight, out of mind. I wish that were true. Because a lot of times you're going to find that even when you say, okay, that's it. I'm not going to eat gluten. I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm not going to eat dairy. Still going to be on your mind, which is why it needs to be out of sight. So the things that you don't want to do, the bad habits that you have, the little addictions like your phone, let's make it harder for you to just slip into those things, okay? So let me give you some examples. If you don't want to drink, put the alcohol away. Get it off the countertop. Get it in a cupboard. Better yet, put it in the basement. You know, if you need to get up early or if you want more sleep, here's what you need to do. Get your phone out of the bedroom. This one simple system, remove the phone from your bedroom, will change your life because it won't be there. You won't look at it in the middle of the night. You won't look at it as you're laying in bed. You won't lay in bed and look at it. Get it out of your bedroom. You want to know why? You can't be trusted. Neither can I. And I'm going to give you a really harsh example of this. Let's say the person you love the most has a really bad addiction. Like, let's just put it out there. They're addicted to cocaine, okay? You love them. They're trying. They're recovering. They're doing great. Would you ever put an 8-ball on the bedside table? Of course not. You are more addicted to your phone than people who are addicted to cocaine. I'm not kidding about this. The research is very clear. And so anything that you have a problem regulating yourself with, get it out of your sight. It's an addiction. I'm dead serious about this because I am in that category when it comes to the phone. I know this intellectually. In my head, I know that I shouldn't be looking at my phone, which is why I got to get it out of my bedroom so that I don't look at it. I'll give you another example. For the next 75 days, gluten-free, dairy-free. Why on earth would I stock my fridge with the cheeses that I love? I'm not going to, because it would be torture. And look, if you can't remove it from your fridge because you have kids who drink milk or your roommates are all drinking alcohol, you can certainly stick the milk in the back of the fridge. You are within your rights to ask your roommates if they could just store the alcohol in the cupboard instead of on the counter, so it's not like there in your face. You only have to be. And here's what's so cool about removing it. The research shows that when you hack your environment this way, right? This is just a simple system. Get it the fuck out of here, okay? Out of here. We got the Audi out of here. You only have to have that temptation a tiny bit more inconvenient to have this system work. They did this really interesting study at Google where they used to keep M&Ms in open bowls at Google, and they were curious in the Google offices. What if we just switched up the system here, and instead of having M&Ms in open bowls, what if we put them in bowls that had lids on them? The candies are still there. You want to know what happened? Employees ate 3 million less M&Ms over the course of a year. Why? Because out of sight, out of mind. Making it just a tiny bit more inconvenient to get the candy had people often pass on it. And the candy wasn't so tempting because they couldn't see it. And this also proves what you've already learned. Decision fatigue is a real thing. Simply having to consider lifting off the lid before you reach the M&Ms created enough friction for people, enough of a pause, that it made them not do it. Just like you having to pull open the drawer and pick out your exercise tights often has you walk right past that drawer and not do it at all. So, if you want to do it, stick it in front of your face. If you don't, get it out of your sight. Because I promise you, there is going to be a moment where you are going to get desperate and you are going to be wondering, why did I agree to do this thing? You're going to be Zoe standing there at a lunch wanting to eat cake. You're going to be Eric, and instead of turning that treadmill on, you're going to want to take your coat and launch it right on top of that treadmill, or you're going to be like me. This morning, as I am standing there in the kitchen and I'm making a cup of coffee and I am pouring this plant-based creamer into my coffee, and I'm thinking, I would kill another human being for whole milk right now. I even scrounged around in the fridge to see if there was any in there. I'm not going to lie. Not proud of that moment. It's a weak moment for Mel Robbins. I am way more addicted to my whole milk than I thought. Sadly, there wasn't. But you know what? Not sadly. Thankfully, there wasn't any in there. I had no choice because I got it the fuck out of there, because I know myself well enough that if I have an option to be a rebel and cheat, I will likely take it. And so I'm glad I choked down the plant-based creamer, and I got 69 more days to go. Now let's go to another question. And this one comes from Jack.
Hey, Mel, it's Jack. I've got a quick question for you. If I start setting goals, how do I know if I'm going to be successful? What's kind of the biggest indicator or way for me to know that I'm on track?
Jack, great question. And it brings me to system number 3. And I got to tell you to brace yourself, because this is going to sound redunculously obvious. But the only way to know that you're on track is to track. Period. That's system number 3. You have to track your progress. Again, let's go back to any organization versus Audi organization. You are no longer allowed to track your progress casually in your mind. You need to get it outside your mind, which means you need a system for tracking progress. And so back to 75 Hard, I'm going to share with you my daughter's system, which I've stolen. What she did is she created this amazing grid on the wall using Post-it notes. And so for every single day of the 75 days, she wrote 1 through 75, and then created this giant square grid on the wall. And every single evening when she finishes the day, she pulls a Post-it note off. And pulling that Post-it note off, that is like, that's like a rip. That's like a yes. That gives you the dopamine. That is like a box checked. If you are a to-do list, I love my boxes checked. I love my things in order. You will love checking boxes and keeping track. Another example of this, tracking the miles you run on an app like Strava. Or maybe you can just like make a grid on your computer and print it off, or find one, on Google and print it off online. Checking boxes either on something you've printed off or on a habit tracker. I personally prefer paper because I'm 54 and I love, Chris, my husband's 53 today. So I had to think about, okay, wait, how old am I? I robbed the cradle. He's 17 months younger than me. It really works. Okay. So I sometimes forget to log on to apps. And so for me, you got to understand yourself. You have to make these systems work for you. An app may be the best damn thing that's ever happened to you. For me, when it comes to tracking myself, it's got to be paper. I got to see it somewhere like right in front of my face, which is why I use my bathroom mirror. I will also use the wall in front of my computer or the refrigerator, places that I know that I'm going to bump into it. For you, you may be fine doing it on your phone, on a computer, but that system doesn't work for me. And so that's the other thing. Kind of be flexible with this. Try things out. See what feels right for you. But tracking your progress, this is not negotiable. Get it out of your head because there is foundational research here. See, you start to get addicted to keeping a streak. Think about Snapchat. Ooh, we got a streak. I don't want to break the streak. Think about have you ever noticed that you're out now, everybody's all addicted to Be Real. And the second that notification goes off, people are like, oh, we got to do our Be Real today. I didn't do my Be Real today. This is about streaks and progress and not breaking the chain of progress. And so in apps and social media apps, they've gamified this natural tendency in psychology. And so you can do the same. Create a system that's fun for tracking yourself. And remember what I said at the very beginning, Zoe, my cake eaters, my sugar cutter outers, my people who keep making promises that they don't know why they're doing it. Get clear about your why. And remember, if you're doing a grid and you have a day off, first of all, you will know that it's a day off. Shake it off and try to get back on track tomorrow. Okay? We don't really want to see 2 or 3 days off in a row, but if you're tracking your progress, this is the other magic of tracking it outside your mind, you see it. And you're empowered to get back on track the next day so you can check that box. Love it. And look, I think it's obvious, but also there's research that's proven that the more often that you track your progress, the greater the likelihood that you're going to succeed. And the chances of your success are even more likely if you report your progress publicly, or you physically record it. So this is what I'm talking about. Physically record it. Physically record it in an app, physically record it on a piece of paper. This comes from Dr. Benjamin Harkin of the University of Sheffield. Published this in the Journal of Psychological Bulletin. Harkin and his colleagues, this is not like some one-off study. They conducted a meta-analysis of 138 studies. And you know what that means to us real people here? It means that he took 138 studies on goal setting that had almost 200,000 people in it. And when they combined it all and crunched the data, they found that monitoring your progress toward a goal, no questions asked, increased the likelihood that you would achieve the goal. There's no arguing with me on this one. So if you don't want to achieve the goal and you don't want the behavior to stick, I got an idea for you. Manage it in your head. If you're serious about making the habit stick, you're serious about the goal happening, monitor this shit, okay? Let's get serious. Let's stop dicking around here about what you actually want to do, and let's use these systems. We got 2 more systems to cover, but first, I have to take a quick break. We got to monitor our sponsors. Listen in. Let's hear what they have to say. And then when we come back, we're talking system number 4 and system number 5. I'll see you in a minute. All right, welcome back. So happy you're here. See, I'm monitoring your progress. You came back. Check. So we've talked about the first 3 Audi systems. Make it visible, like right in front of your face. Get it out of your head, put it in front of your face. Number 2, whatever you're not supposed to do, get it the fuck out of here, okay? Let's just remove all temptation. You and I are friends. We know we're kind of rebels. We know we can't be trusted until we can be trusted. So let's just get it out of here. Number 3, monitor your progress. Okay. We are serious about change around here, which means you got to get it out of your head. Get it on paper, get it in an app, and get public about it. Okay. Super important about this. Let's talk about system number 4. This is another way to get out of your head. Okay. Get it out of your mind. Create a plan. I'm going to say that again. Create a plan. We are not talking kindergarten habit here, people. We are talking college level, PhD, habit sticking systems. We're not screwing around. If you want to freestyle in your mind, you are not going to be successful. This is not jazz. We're not like just going off the rails here. We are following the music score to the T. You need a plan, people. And this comes from a study, this comes from studies, okay? You know I'm throwing the science at you because a lot of times, when the stuff is common sense, I know I need to plan, Mel. Yeah, well, then why aren't you doing it? So let me tell you the research. At UT Austin, they found you're going to be more likely to succeed at behavior change if you make specific plans to implement it. Now, I don't mean to insult your intelligence because I think this is obvious. But when you unpack an example of this, it becomes very obvious why you're failing if you fail to plan. So let's go back to 75 Hard and my promise and commitment to complete 2 workouts every single day, one of which has to be outside. It is critical that I plan ahead. Critical. I am fucked if I don't plan because I travel for work. And so I'm looking at flights right now for a 16-day business trip at the end of January. And as I'm looking at flights, you know what I'm thinking? How the hell am I going to get an outside workout and an indoor workout in? And I got to still fly from San Diego back to Boston. Or here's another way that I'm planning. Tomorrow in southern Vermont, we're going to have 4 inches of snow on the ground. And when am I going to work out? And what am I going to wear? And do I need the grippy things on my feet because the driveway is like a luge run right now? And what time of day am I going to? Like, am I going to get this done before 4 o'clock, which is when winter comes and the Death Eaters are here and it's dark as hell? And based on my schedule, like, I got to plan this stuff because you know what? If I don't and I just start my day, here's what's going to happen. I am literally going to go, I'll do it later. And then it'll be 8 o'clock at night. I got to tell you a quick story about my husband, Chris, because this is when it occurred to me that I might be married to either a robot or to the world's most disciplined person on the planet. So Chris started 75 Hard for the 3rd time, well over a month ago. And so it was December 21st. And we had woken up in New York, because we go there every year during the holidays to see a show with the kids. It's just one of our traditions. And Chris exercised, did his first workout in the hotel gym in New York. We then drove to Connecticut. We had lunch with his brother. And then we drove up to Boston, where we were going to stay with his oldest brother, and we were going to go to a holiday party. Now, as we're driving to Boston, the weather gets supremely crappy, and we are driving in horizontal rain. You can barely see. It is foggy as hell, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm thinking, we are going to arrive 30 minutes after this big party has started. This party with all of our old friends where we used to live in Boston. I was so excited to go to this party, and I'm thinking in my mind, Chris hasn't gotten his outdoor workout yet. Could he maybe just stick his head out the window and like do some face exercises? Like, could we, do something? Like, could I like, what are we going to, like, I want to go to the party. I'll tell you what, this is impressive. The man said, I have to get this done. I'm like, but it is raining horizontal outside. It is dark. You don't know the neighborhood we're going to. There are no street. He's like, I don't care. I'm doing it. We pulled outside. We decided to go to his oldest brother's house because he was getting this done. He said he would do this. And bad planning fucked him. But he was not going to let bad planning break a promise that he had made to himself. This is what integrity looks like. So we go, not to the party, but we go to his brother's house. And I sat inside because there was no way I was going to go to that party without him while I knew he was walking in the pouring horizontal rain. And he borrowed a pair of sweatpants from his brother, which were cotton, by the way. We're not talking performance gear here. And just this big old coat. And the man left and walked for 45 minutes at 7:30 at night in the horizontal 40-degree rain. And then he came in, toweled off, changed his clothes, and we drove to the party. In 26 years of being married to Christopher Robbins, I have never been more attracted to the man than I was in that moment. There is nothing sexier than a person who keeps their word no matter what. And the way that you make it easier to keep your word is by planning ahead. Planning ahead is about looking at the week ahead. And if you're going to eat healthy, figure out what you're cooking for the week every night. And then go to the grocery store. And if you're not going to be eating dairy or gluten like I am, this is new for me. I don't normally cook without dairy or gluten. And so this is requiring a lot of planning so that I don't just open up the fridge and hope that somehow this has magically happened that I'm going to be successful. And making a plan is a piece that's super obvious, but it's completely overlooked. You're thinking about what you need to do. Again, you're an innie organizer rather than getting out of your head and creating a plan out in the real world on paper. And the most basic plan at all is look at your fucking schedule. Look at the weather. Look at what's in your fridge. Look at what your commitments are. I'll tell you another quick story. It has to do with exercise. Day 4, 75 hard. Just like Chris, I didn't make a plan. I exercised first thing in the morning, but I didn't make a plan for the second one. So 8 p.m. rolls around. And Chris is like, when are you doing your second workout? And of course, I'm looking at the man that walks in torrential rainstorms, like without blinking an eye. And I'm like, oh, I already did my outside workout. I think I will stretch in front of the TV while we're watching Jack Ryan. How's that sound? He put his hands on his hips. My daughter was sitting there too. And he's like, get on the treadmill. Go on. We'll wait. When I tell you, in 28 years of being with a man, I don't think I've ever wanted to kill him more than in that moment. But he was right. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So let's go back to Zoe. Hi, Zoe. Slice of cake, 4 hours in. Don't make yourself wrong. You know what went wrong there? Either you really don't want to give up sugar or you just failed to plan. So if you're planning on cutting out sugar, what's your plan when you go to a party or a restaurant and cake is being served? This is what's called if-then planning. And it's research by Heidi Halverson, who wrote about this in the Columbia University Researcher. And if-then planning is a way to keep yourself on task by creating a backup plan if your current plan doesn't work. And here's what's really cool about if-then planning. If-then planning boosts your ability to stick to goals, and they studied this with exercise, from 39% success to 91% success. If it rains, then I'll do this. If I miss my flight, then I'll do that. If I'm going to a party and I've committed to dry January, then I'm just going to bring a non-alcoholic beverage. If a friend invites me over for dinner, then I'm going to email or text them back and say, I'd love to, but I'm trying to cut out gluten and I don't want to be a pain in the ass and have you have to fuss about me. So can I bring something that's gluten-free to supplement what you're already making? Because let's face it, if you don't plan ahead, if you don't make an if-then plan, you feel embarrassed. And then you either push your food around your plate like some weirdo, or you eat and you break the promise to yourself. So If I don't get exercise done tonight, then I'm not going to binge watch TV tonight. I'm going to get my exercise done instead. If you didn't give yourself enough time to get that side project done this morning, then you're going to finish it at 7:45 tonight after you put the kids to bed. Bada bing, bada boom. Pretty cool, right? All right, now let's get to system number 5. Do it in the morning. There you go. Do it in the morning. It's that simple. As much as you may want to bitch about being a morning person or getting up earlier, getting the most important stuff done in the morning, this is the keys to the kingdom. It really is true. Being an early riser is like a first domino that falls. And once that domino falls, you've gotten yourself out of bed a half an hour earlier, all these other dominoes fall in your life. And I get it. It's hard to do. And one huge way that's going to make a big difference, and you hear me talk about this all the time, and it's because this is one of these domino habits. You do this, and it triggers a whole of change. Get your phone out of your bedroom, period. It's a huge way to hack this. And you don't want to know another way to get up early? Get a puppy, because they'll wake you up. They need to be let out. And I've learned this one. You get a puppy and you'll be a morning person. Another one, marry somebody, date somebody, sleep with somebody who gets out of bed early, live with somebody who has a great morning routine. And look, it's not just common sense, it's science. Number 1, your willpower is the highest in the morning. Number 2, your speed of processing, highest in the morning. Your ability to focus, highest in the morning for the first 4 hours of the day. And by the way, it's likely to be the time of day that you have to yourself, the time that you can actually control before other people, little people, furry people, and all the commitments at work start taking up your attention and your time. And yeah, I get it. You've got toddlers. Well, that means if you're serious about this, you are going to have to get up a half an hour earlier before they get up, which means you're going to have to go to bed a half an hour earlier. But aren't these new habits and a better lifestyle and feeling in control of your life, isn't that worth it? That's your why. Because if you can get an extra hour every morning, you can get everything done. You can do all the little things that the future you put in place for you. You can read the Post-it note on the mirror. You can drink the bottle of water that you set out. You can write in your journal that you put in place on the table in the kitchen. You can pull on those exercise tights that you laid out. You can spend an hour getting things done. Honestly, this has been the secret to my second attempt. And look, I get it. I'm 6 days in. I'm working these systems like a mother, let me tell you. But this has been the secret. I feel 6 days in. 6 days in last time was about when I quit. I'm like, this is I can't fit this in. I'm going to bed. 6 days in, this feels not easy, but it feels like, okay, I got this. I got my systems. I got my head down. I'm just going to keep on plugging away at this. I'm getting the photo done. I'm getting the outside exercise done. I'm getting that done in the morning. And look, it's not a cakewalk, but it's getting done. And here's one more bonus that I want to give you, okay? You want to supersize all this? Really want to get outside of yourself? You really want to be an outie organizer when it comes to changing habits? Holy cow. Could you please stop doing this in your head alone and get out there and get a friend and do this with? Literally, whether you are texting somebody every day to check in, or you're jumping on Peloton and you're high-fiving people, or you're in a Facebook group, I got to tell you, the power of a community of people, whether it's your sisters or your high school friends, or it's your neighbors, or it's a group of strangers that are organizing themselves on a text chain, it's incredible. So Chris is doing 75 hard for now the third time. I mean, basically it's his life. It's not even like a challenge for him. This is just his core habits. And he is leading a huge group of people through this from around the world. And he has this amazing text chain going on WhatsApp from people around the world. So every single day when I wake up, after I look in the mirror and I give myself a high five and I check the list and I start checking things off, when I finally look at my phone and I see what's going on in this WhatsApp group, it's freaking unbelievable. It is so motivating to see other people outside me, outside of my little, sphere of whatever, outside of me, outside of my little tiny town here in southern Vermont, outside of my own little brain, outside of my own little bullshit, seeing all these other people out there doing it. In fact, just 2 days ago, there was a woman in Iran on this WhatsApp text chain with a video on her morning walk out in a park in Iran, like just talking about how motivating it is, especially with what's going on in her country with women's rights, to be focused on behavior changes that she can make to tap into the power in herself. So when I'm sitting here in the pouring rain in Vermont bitching about stupid things, it's sort of like, oh, for God's sakes, Mel, get over yourself. Get your ass out there. Stop chirping about the stupid stuff that, give me a break. Doing it with people in an online group, doing it with friends in a text group chat, doing it with family members. That's what it's all about. That's how you supersize it. The encouragement of people outside of you will tap into the crazy, awesome, intrinsic motivation inside of you for why you're doing this. I know. You're welcome. I want to play another question that was submitted from a woman named Megan so that I can start to show you that you're not the only one whose self-doubt is the problem.
My name is Megan, and I'm from Tampa, Florida. Long story short, I've always wanted to move out of my hometown. And ever since I graduated college, I've tried to find an excuse to move. I'm in my third job in my career, love it. But I'm just like, I never pursued that moving out of my hometown. And there's always been this itch. And I'm 32, I'm single, I have no kids, and I'm like, my lease is about to end. So I'm like, is now the time? But all those fears just keep popping in, which are a lot of, limiting beliefs that I have. So my parents always kind of told me, you need money to move. If you don't have a bunch of money saved, then you shouldn't be going anywhere. They never moved out of Tampa. So they were like, your family's here. Why would you want to leave your family? And kind of like guilt tripped me a little bit. So I kind of shut down the conversation, and I basically just don't know what to do. And I feel stuck, but I feel like I need to do it, but I don't have a reason to other than I want to. So how do I get past feeling stuck and too afraid? And I feel like I'm just always looking for excuses of why I shouldn't. My biggest fear is just getting there and then being like, why did I do this? I'm alone. I have no family or friends here. Who knows when my family or friends are going to visit me, even if they will. Is this going to cost me a lot of money? And now I put myself in like a bad financial situation. What if I lose my job and I'm in a new city? What if I hate it? So Mel, how do I get started? What is the first step I should take? And what is the right way of going about doing this?
Oh my God. First of all, can we just agree? We love Megan. Don't you just love how honest she is? How she's just laying it all out there. And you know what else I love about her? She is every single one of us. Because once you lock on to something that you, quote, have an itch. And by the way, that's the only reason you need. If you want to do something, if you have a desire to do it, if you have that itch, that pull, that's your reason. You don't need any other justification other than you get to want things. You get to try things. And so I just love her because in sharing so much about how she's struggling internally, and you can hear that, can't you? You can hear how much she wants to do this. And yet, there is that conflict inside of her. And so I want to unpack this layer by layer for you, because here's the thing. It's very easy for me on the outside to put my hands on my hip and to look at Megan with a big smile and say, honey, you are not getting any older. Get your ass out of Tampa and move. What if it all works out? Stop worrying about it. And by the way, Tampa's waiting for you in case you hate it. So you can reverse the decision. But you got to start taking some risks. Like, I could tell her this all day long, but what really moves the needle in your life is when you can coach yourself, when you can shut down the conversation inside your own mind. Because the only thing that is holding Megan back from pursuing something she's been thinking about for years is the conversation she's having with herself. And so how do you shut down the conversation? The answer, believe it or not, is manifesting. Wait, what? Mel? Hold on a second. Mel Robbins, did you just say all I have to do is manifest? If I think about moving, magically it'll happen? No, that's not what I said. You see, you don't understand what manifesting is. Nobody does. I didn't for decades. Manifesting is not just imagining something or wishing or wanting something to happen. That's what Megan's been doing. She's been thinking about it. She's been wishing it would happen. She's been wanting it to happen. Has that made her move? No. That's not manifesting, everybody. Manifesting is intentionally training your brain and your nervous system to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. That's what manifesting is. Manifesting is a power tool. It's backed by neuroscience. It is backed by years of research. And when used properly, it helps you achieve your goals because it helps you prepare to do the work. I use science-backed manifesting tools every single day to shut down the negative conversations in my life and to live a big life and to take big risks. And dude, Olympic athletes use manifesting. And we're going to get into how Olympic athletes and the world's leading, business leaders and successful people everywhere use it. But I'm telling you right now, the way you shut down your internal conversation that is holding you back is manifesting. And I'm not only going to give you the definition of what manifesting is and what it isn't, but I'm going to walk you through 4 steps backed by neuroscience on how you're going to use manifesting properly as a brain reprogramming tool. That's what we're going to do here today. And I'm also, as I walk you through these steps, you're going to learn the 4 mistakes that absolutely everybody makes when it comes to the how and when it comes to trying to manifest. Jessica, I'm sure, is making this mistake. Megan makes this mistake. I've been making this mistake for years until I understood the science. And so, as I do this, I want to turn the spotlight on you for a second because I'm going to continue talking about Megan. And I'm going to learn a lot about manifesting and how to use science to rewire your mind. But what is something that you feel the itch to do, that you've been thinking about, that you're the one shutting down? Here's a way that you could really get honest with yourself. Let's just say that Mel Robbins was going to take a sabbatical from hosting the Mel Robbins podcast. And let's say I was going to move into your house. And you and I were going to be surgically joined at the hip for a year. And you were going to have to deal with me being by your side and in your ear day by day. I'd be there as you woke up. I'd be there as you go to sleep. I can sense that itch because I'm connected to your hip. What is it knowing that I would be in your life, annoying as hell, pushing you through your fears? What would you take on that you're not taking on right now? What dream would you pursue? If I'm your big O-line, your offensive lineman in football, I'm the one that's going to block and tackle for you. I'm the one that's going to clear the path. I'll handle your frickin' parents. I'm going to find the apartment. I'll push you out of your comfort zone. We got this because I'm going to be by your side. What is that thing, that itch, that dream? Because I want you to be selfish as you listen to this. And so hold on to that as I describe how manifesting is one of the first things you have to learn how to do to get started on making this a reality. So what is manifesting? Manifesting is mentally training for getting what you want. That's all that it is. It is part of the toolkit that successful people around the world use. Let me tell you what manifesting is not. Manifesting is not thinking thoughts and then hoping they come true. That is what people do on their 7th birthday, and they blow out the candles. That is not what we are doing here. Manifesting is based in neuroscience. It is a tool that you are going to use precisely, intentionally, systematically, with purpose, because you use manifesting to rewire your mind and your body and your spirit to help you do the work to achieve your dreams. When you use manifesting properly, you are removing the mental obstacles of self-doubt, resistance, fear, perfectionism, feeling overwhelmed, other people's expectations, all that stuff that is holding you in place right now, that makes you spin in circles. Manifesting clears that shit out, and it programs, using science, a completely different way of thinking and feeling about the things that you want to create in your life. And when you manifest properly, it's almost like the pregame training that you do before the big game. It prepares you to take action. It boosts your confidence. It gets you ready to do that thing. So you and I are going to walk step by step through how to do this, but I just want you, for this moment, I want you to embrace the definition that this is not wishing. This is not the law of attraction. This is based in science and neuroscience. This is about reprogramming your mind instead of letting your fears run your life. I know what you're thinking. Okay, Mel, what the hell does that mean? Don't you worry. We're going to go step by step through this, and I'm going to keep on teeing up the mistakes that you're making, because everybody makes the same mistakes. I made the same mistakes too. And I'm going to show you the 4 things you need to do instead so you can leverage the science to create the life that you want.
I'd just love to hear, what did it feel like to write 3 pages? How can I make this easy? I feel like I just flushed a toilet. The bowl was clean. That was not a very profound way to put it, but it just like spiritual flush,
riddance.
man. Spiritual flush.
Good riddance.
Yeah. I feel lighter. How do you feel, Jesse?
I feel like I just went through my own little therapy session. I mean, I started off really crying, writing it. Not like really afraid, not knowing what to write. And then you ended it with like, I don't know, just it's night and day with my first sentence, my first 2 sentences versus my last 2, which is really cool. I hit every emotion in that, which I did not expect.
Reading the first sentence?
Yeah. I said, breathe, be still, be present. Hug your husband, hug Myrtle, my cat. Relax. Trust your gut.
Why does that make you emotional?
Because I need to say it more often. That's what I need to do. And just breathe, be still, be present. Hug my husband, hug my cat. Those little joys. I probably don't do them enough. Do them as often. I don't want to say as I should, because I need to stop saying I should.
Yeah, there's that.
But just being still and being present.
You know, it's so profound, isn't it?
Yeah. And
like,
that was...
It's just the little things that we're not even present to because we're busy, should have done this, should have done that we're not hugging the people we love. We're not greeting the cat. We're not...
Yeah. We're running out the door. We're, on to the next. I feel that too. Like, just even as you said that, like, I didn't really hug my husband as I left this morning. Like,
yeah, I didn't either.
Shit, I didn't either.
Yeah.
And that's an easy change.
Yeah.
But it was, I started with that with like literal handshaking just because I didn't know how to start this, where to start. What is easy? It's easy to breathe. It's easy to be still. And right now to be present with this pen and paper.
How did you end it?
I ended it very confident.
Wow. I want to hear this.
Yeah, if I can read just like the last,
whatever you're comfortable with. I want to hear it.
We're around the holidays. Even though I know you said don't read your papers.
Yeah, I don't, but that's okay.
Before you burn them. But since it's holidays, there's a lot of stress around holidays, just being with family. We don't live near our family, and they've never been a tradition. So I just said, it's okay to not be with family for Thanksgiving. It's okay to spend my first Thanksgiving in our new home together with FaceTime. It's all okay how it is, exclamation point. Stop putting pressure to make others happy. Are you happy? Yes. Be thankful for you and your language. Your new tribe starts now.
Whew, Jesse.
Wow.
And
Wow. That is, keep
I
going,
don't
keep
like,
going.
there was anger in here. There was frustration in here. There was doubt. And it just comes out of like, no, you're fucking happy. It's okay to be happy and not be pulling in the dark side because everyone else does it, or it's easy to relate on the dark, or that's all you know. That's all you've been trained to do and communicate
most
that
of us
way.
are trained to do.
Yeah, I can relate to my mom so easy off of guilt and off of bad news. What if I don't have any? I find it, and that's what I will talk to her about. You know, so now it's change that language. Only present the good that I have a lot of that I don't give love to. Whether it is my husband and my cat, or it is just being thankful for myself.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. That is really moving that you start off in one place and that you end in another, and you end with the Jesse that you want to talk to.
What did yours say?
Well, you know what's really funny is I had a very similar theme to Jesse. Relax. Just relax. Just be in the moment and relax yourself. I don't know. Yeah, it was a little bit about breathing too. I mean, it's a really similar idea. Are you laughing?
What about the end?
You know, the end is, as I often find the end to be when I do this practice, is like, all right, I can do this. Now that I took my what did you call it? Spiritual dump.
Yep.
I've got this and I can do this. And that is, I ended in the same spot about a totally different topic, but I ended in the same spot. I can do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I started obviously with, I don't know, screw you, Amy. I wrote, the cat is pissing me off. He feels hard. He's peeing in the bathroom. He's peeing on the floor of the laundry room. He's scratching the new runner on the stairs. He's needy and loud in the middle of the fucking night. He draws Homie, our puppy, over, leans in to sniff him as if he loves him, then fucking swats at him like, what a dick. Easy. Like, so I go on and on, bitching about the cat.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, like similar stuff about the holidays. Because I always deeply miss my family around the holidays. And yet I asked my folks to come and they said no, they wanted to be in Florida. And I asked them to come for Christmas and they said no. And it just makes me so sad. And so I, how can this be easy? Open the door. Let love in. Let them be exactly who they are and who they aren't. Just figure out what makes me happy and do those things. Take a breath. Tell myself you're in a 5-year experiment right now of healing, of happiness, and of creating a spiritual home base for yourself, Mel. How can this be easy? Let go. Stop gripping and just love.
Oh, holy shit, Mel.
Oh, yes.
That's incredible.
That's beautiful.
Same thing was true about the cat, because I realize I'm so pissed off at him and I need to come from love because he's clearly in distress. Something's up. Like, he can't fix this himself. So I got to rise above all of this resentment and anger that I feel.
Yeah.
And just shower him with love and help him figure it out. Because otherwise Chris is going to kill him. I mean, he keeps peeing in the house.
I mean, that was really cool. And again, I didn't think I could fill up 3 pages, but it just kept going. Once you really get into it,
flush the toilet.
Yeah.
Flush the toilet. Well, I'll tell you what I know from doing this, and this is just my experience, is a lot of times you don't want to do it. There's resistance. You don't think you can do it. You can't fill a page. You don't want to talk about it, whatever it is. And then once you get going, it's like just the floodgates open.
Yeah, I think this is an act of reprogram. Think about this I think about this like reprogram your mind. I think one of the reasons why So many of us love prayer or meditation or oracle cards or, like reading a book like the Book of Awakening that gives you like a daily devotional, is that it gives you a new thought to anchor onto when your old one sucks. And this prompt, how can this be easy, forces you to have a new thought to anchor on instead of the old one, which for all of us, I'm going to say, is what's wrong, what's not working, what's hard, what's the problem, what do I have to complain about?
Yeah. Give your mind a different job. Your mind right now has a job of looking for what's horrible, cutting it down to make it the worst ever, like not accepting joy, not accepting happiness. That's the job that most of us give our mind. That's the job that I realized I gave my mind all the time.
Yeah.
How can this be even worse?
Yeah.
What's that getting me?
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think this is the wake-up call, everybody. You didn't realize that your mind was doing this job. It's been doing it for so long, it just runs on repeat. So now it's time for us to take control. Put down the damn sword, stop the campaign of misery, pick up the fucking pen, and write a new chapter for real. Like, train your brain to spot how this can be easy. Train your brain. How can this be easy? How can this make me happy? How can I let love in? Start writing a whole new way to think. That's what I'm going to do. Let's go burn this shit.
Let's go burn it.
Yeah.
You already crumpled yours up, which is great.
Okay.
I'm going to actually rip mine up because I just feel like that kind of gets out a little bit extra emotion. Yeah, Jesse's feeling it. See ya. See ya.
I just felt something like,
Yeah.
I feel like a rip.
Rip
Hold
it
on.
up. Rip it up.
Wow.
Oh.
Look at how that just landed. This be easy on top.
All right. So sometimes that happens too. Like sometimes you really get like a message even in that. So then I just
Light it.
take a match. I'm
Okay.
gonna light Jesse's for her. And sometimes it's more difficult than
You mean to hold your mic?
and somehow this matches. There we go.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
And then I just have a habit of standing back from it and watching it burn. And just saying to myself, let it all go. Just let all that complaining, shit you don't need, and the stuff you don't want, let it be gone.
Wow.
What do you do when it stops burning? Like, I'm now worried about yours.
Mine? Yeah, I know. Sometimes that happens because mine's not lighting.
It's funny, that kind of crumpled, ashy remain is what that black tar wave of misery actually felt like,
You're right.
that I felt this morning.
Wow.
Like that physical burnt paper that's left in that Pyrex dish looks like misery.
Yes.
That's what I feel when I think, for example, about the kids all leaving instead of being present in the moment.
It's sad.
Yeah. Oh, yours is smoking.
I know. I'm having some difficulty with mine.
Not really.
and
It's
I
just
think that's
taking
okay.
just taking a little time. Amy's burning hers. What are you feeling, Jesse?
Very satisfied. I don't know why that happened so fast. And there's so much hesitation to write it. And how do I start it? How do I do this? And it was easy.
Isn't that
I mean, it's-
incredible?
yeah.
That's what, right? It's easy.
It's easy. And I feel so much better. If I do this again tomorrow, will I write most of the same stuff? Of course. I think a lot of it will be the same right now. But again, you keep burning it, keep getting rid of it. It was easy.
Chris will be out here in his ice barrel doing the cold plunge, and I will be doing the fire ceremony
Yeah.
with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Putting the sword down.
What'd you think, Mel?
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
Seeing the physically burnt paper is very helpful for me because now I have like this image to attach to the thoughts and the feelings. So I can separate from it because I just want to be happier in my life. And the only reason that I'm not is because of this battle that I engage in.
Right.
And so that almost honestly looks like a burnt sword, you know, it just
Yeah.
put it down.
Yeah.
And I felt the same thing you did too, Jesse, that it's a lot of work to carry this shit around. And it's a lot of work, even though it's subconscious, to be griping and complaining and present to what's wrong and everything's hard and that energy, it's a lot. And it was pretty easy to let it go once I made a decision to.
What is so heavy, and it's the heavy thoughts, like you said, Mel, but it's really not. It's just that. They're just thoughts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
That was really cool.
Well, Amy, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.